We had some battles of the play-in teams last night. We're going to break down those games. The Suns and the Magic came down to the wire. The Blazers put it to the Clippers a little bit. In this one, we're going to break both of those games down and all four of those teams. And then the all-offense team. This might sound like just the all-NBA team, but no, we take defense out of the equation. We talk about the best offensive players this season. All that and more on today's All-NBA show. What is up, everybody, and welcome to the All-NBA show powered by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet at FanDuel.com/AllCity. I'm your host, Adam Mares, and I'm joined by my esteemed colleague, the West Coast man, Tim Legler, out in the Bay, getting ready for a Friday night ESPN game. How you doing, Legs?
I'm doing great, man. I'm just racking up these frequent flyer miles, man. These I'm telling you right now, Delta Airlines has become my best friend, baby. American was for years and years and years. It's more Delta now. Every now and then I'll mix in a United. But these freaking flyer miles with all these West Coast games, I am not complaining about it.
Who has it better than Legs? Nobody on earth, I don't think. Like I said, we have a great show for you because there were two very good games last night, and I think interesting games that were important to the standings. They carried a lot of weight, and in one case, might actually be a preview of what we're going to see in a do-or-die play-in game. So we're going to get to both of those games, but we're going to start with a FanDuel game breakdown. You know this show, guys. We always talk about the games, the actual games, and try to break it down. Who was interesting last night in the association? Well, in my opinion, it was the Phoenix Suns and the Orlando Magic. I'm just going to start because I'm just going to ask you what you liked about this game, but I'm going to start with this. I love the way the Orlando Magic play defense, and I love the way that the Phoenix Suns play offense, minus the clutch, which we'll get to here in a little bit. But that's what made this an interesting battle, and it turned out everybody was just going to turn the ball over. 20 turnovers for the Suns, 25 for the Orlando Magic. But what stood out to you about this game, and how did the Orlando Magic pull out a win following a 50-point loss in their previous game?
Yeah. Well, I give them a lot of credit for that because I said to you that day they lost by 50 to Toronto, and with everybody playing that, like, is this going to be the game that defines them? You know, if they flame out and they go out, go home right away in the postseason, is this going to be the game that we are looking at? To define their season? Like, how could that possibly happen? And they bounce back, man. They're in this game, and it's anybody's game with a couple minutes to go. And let's put the context, I think, on the game is important. Orlando right now desperately trying to hold on to 8. They still have a shot at 7, but certainly you don't want to fall below 8. And here's why it's so important in the East. It's so important in the East because I think when you look at the top 4 teams, is there much difference if you end up 7 or 8 in terms of who you play? I don't think there is. I really don't. I think all 4 of those teams are capable of beating each other. So to me, just getting in, it's like I feel like your odds are the same against any of those 4 teams. I don't feel that way about the West. Like, if you get 1 or 2, that's a big difference than who you might play at 3 or 4. So it's not the case in the Eastern Conference. So the key is give yourself at least 2 opportunities to get in. And that's why 8 is so important, no lower than 8. And they still have a chance at 7. And then for Phoenix, they're pretty much locked into 7. They're sitting here. They're 4.5 games out of 6. They're not going to catch them. They're 3 games up on the Clippers, for 8. So they're basically going to be the 7. So they've already given themselves 2 chances, and they're going to play those games at home. So Phoenix is in a pretty good spot in terms of where you can be for the play-in. So let's just set the context for the game. Now, as far as the game, really, really entertaining game. Orlando had a big lead. They closed the first half with a big run. Phoenix fights their way back, and now you got basically 2 minutes to play to determine the game. And I thought the difference in the game was some really big plays down the stretch offensively by a couple of guys for Orlando, and Phoenix didn't have an identity late. And I thought Dillon Brooks coming back, he was trying to do too much, and they got themselves into some bad situations with him with the basketball, shot clock, getting not where it's desperation time, but later in the clock, and now he felt like he had to go try to do something. And look, the guy's so, rusty right now. You're not going to win games if that's where you're going to go late in the game. And I thought that was really the difference. Orlando managed those possessions better. Desmond Bane had the biggest shot of the night, up 3, little runner off the glass inside 10 seconds to put him up 5 and seal the deal.
I feel like I've seen him make that shot a handful of times, just kind of running full speed to his right and then hitting it off the glass for the win. I mean, basically that was the win because it put him up by 2 possessions with only a couple seconds left. So it was a huge shot. But you're being charitable here almost to the Phoenix Suns clutch time offense by just saying it was bad. It was atrocious. Dillon Brooks, in like maybe the biggest play of the entire game for the Phoenix Suns, took a jump shot from behind the backboard. That's how rough it was.
And when he let it go, I actually thought it might go in. Like
sure.
He tried to go one-on-one, like left wing. He ends up getting forced all the way to the baseline and loses his balance. He's like falling out of bounds. And if he had made that shot, that would have been one of the greatest shots in the history of the NBA. I mean, because he wasn't just like, because you've seen guys do it, like Larry Bird did it a couple times. They were like famous clips. But
sure.
He was like on balance when he took it. He just happened to be falling out of bounds. This was a situation where literally he's falling into the first row of fans and shot the ball about 20 feet in the air. It came all the way back over the backboard and just missed like the front of the rim. It was pretty straight. It was just a little bit too long. It would have been one of those miraculous shots in the history of the league. But obviously, man, if that's what you're counting on to win a game, it's not going to happen on the road. So look, you're talking about, Dillon Brooks has had this incredible year, his first game back.
Yep.
And 22 minutes, 4 for 13, 3 shots in the last couple of minutes of the game that were not close. He shot an air ball 3. He shot that shot we're talking about, had another like fadeaway jumper. And if you know one guy that's going to come back from missing, how long did he miss? He missed over a month.
Yeah.
5 weeks, 6 weeks almost. Come back, and in their first game, think, I'm every bit as good as I was at my peak this year. Immediately, like night one, it's going to be Dillon Brooks. Like he's not gonna shy away from the moment. He's not gonna lack confidence. Unfortunately, it's going to take a little time to get the rhythm back in his game. And, he had an incredible year, and he's going to be very important for this team and whatever they do here from this point forward. But it wasn't there last night.
Well, not only the clutch time confidence part that you're talking about, but how about 2 fouls in the first, 4 minutes of this game? It's like you come back and immediately, and some of them were just of the kind where you're like, unforced, just bumps a guy, when the ref's looking right at him and you're like, okay, you're going to pick up another foul just to
rule 1 of missing 6 weeks coming back is just stay on the court. Like stay out of foul trouble. That's rule 1.
But I love it. I mean, to your point, we're kind of giggling about it. It did work out here, but it really is. Dillon Brooks is the way he is because he only has one gear that he plays in, and it's turned all the way up. But as much as we're joking about the clutch time offense, here's what's interesting to me, and I want to get to the Magic. I always prefer when we spend more time on the team that actually won the game, but I actually want to start because the most interesting thing to me was how Phoenix closed this game. And I'll set this table by saying this. One of the reasons I love their offense is because they have a lot of guys that are very good and committed to 0.5 decision making. Catch the ball and make a decision really quick. Nobody hold it and just play with the ball a whole lot. And I thought they did that in the sandwiched portion of this game, not at the very start of it, and obviously not in the clutch where they were really bad, just 1 field goal in the last 5 minutes of the game. But in the middle part, they just move the ball. The ball pops for them. Like they have a great point guard in Colin Gillespie, and they have some shot makers, but everybody just makes quick decisions with the ball. When you get into the clutch, that doesn't happen because the game slows down. You feel like possessions matter so much, and there is a lot of holding it. And maybe they can't. Maybe they have to be one of these teams that just says, hey, in the clutch, we have to keep, we don't have to do anything special. We don't have an easy offense, so we need to move the ball to move. But the reason it was interesting to me is they did not close with Jalen Green. They instead decided to go. I mean, they're going to have to play small just because they don't have, great big players. But they closed with Royce O'Neal, Grayson Allen in there for Iguodala and Jalen Green. And this is a thing that makes sense when you're watching the flow of the game. That group had really battled and brought them back to it. But it's also one of these things where we're a week and a half out from the playoffs, and you just wonder, like, what is their best 5 to close a game? What is their identity to close the game? And it's one of the things that determine playoff series and play-in games. And I just worry that the Suns don't know who that is right now, and they don't know it because I don't think they have a great closing lineup.
Yeah, and I think the Jalen Green thing he had 4 turnovers in 20 minutes, and that's absurd. That's an absurd number. Like that, you're on track to get 7, 8 turnovers in the game. And I think, Jordan Knotts is sitting there and he's like, he's got a number of guards in this team, like different combinations he can go with. He trusts Colin Gillespie, obviously, to make great decisions. You just got Dillon Brooks back. Clearly, you got Devin Booker, who's going to be on the floor touching the ball a lot in those situations. And then I think he wanted to go more with couple of guys that could maybe space out and shoot threes, because you had Grayson Allen out there, you had Royce O'Neal, you had Jordan Goodwin out there, who actually his shot selection bothered me a little bit in this game. I thought he took a couple of really tough.
Who's that?
Goodwin.
Oh yeah,
a couple of really tough, like off the catch in the corner with a guy like right in your space, rising up like you're Klay Thompson in his prime. Like I get it, man. Like you wanted guys to play free, and they took 46 threes in this game, and that's kind of how they play a lot of nights. I just thought that this decision-making wasn't great. But with Jalen Green, he's such a wild card because he's explosive talent. When he gets it going, he's going to be on the floor. I think that's going to be Jordan Ott's determination with him. If he's got it going that game, he's going to go with him. But I don't know that he's going to trust him on a night if he struggles. And he's 3 for 10 in this game with 4 turnovers in 20 minutes. And I think it almost feels like for Jordan Ott, maybe those are nights where we go, I don't know necessarily that I trust he could turn this around in the last 6 minutes and still be great. It almost feels like he's got to set the stage to be on the floor in the last 6 minutes by having a great night already, where there's a lot of guys in this league that get the cachet, even when they've struggled, that at any minute they can hit the switch and make big plays for you. I don't know that the trust factor is there with Jalen Green yet to be able to do that, or if it ever will be.
Yeah,
because that's sort of been his MO throughout his career. He's a little bit of a wild card despite all the talent. So I think that's, to me, is going to determine who's on the floor for this team if they're in one possession games late. And Jalen Green, to me, is going to have to already have proven, like, yeah, I'm kind of in rhythm tonight, where there are other guys in this league that, it doesn't matter to the coach if they've been in rhythm to this point. They trust them that they can still make plays. I don't know that Jalen Green's built up that level of trust with Jordan Ott.
I think you're also worried about turning it over against that Orlando Magic defense that is going to force turnovers. I mean, I love Javon Carter on this team because there's some guys that just fit the personality of an already established identity, and he's one of them. He's just a dog, and he's going to get into you, and he's going to steal the ball when you least expect it and all those things. And to your point, Jalen Green is a guy that I think you don't necessarily trust, to not turn it over against that type of defense. And then, yeah, you need – what was disappointing about them was in the clutch. Their offense has just so much ball movement. You get into the paint and you make the extra pass. And they do have a handful of guys. Goodwin, to me, I get what you're saying about him because he does shoot it pretty much. If he touches it, he's shooting it. But it's kind of his role. He's going to finish the possession. Like when it comes out, if you can shoot, it's like the defense really has to make calculations about how much to help. But that's, I think, the pickle they're in with Jalen Green is Colin Gillespie. You called him a good decision maker. He might be a perfect decision maker. That guy just makes the right play every single time. Devin Booker, Dillon Brooks is going to do his thing. So now you just wonder, can Jalen Green fit into that? And that's my fear. I know this sounds hot takey, but I'm watching it and I go, they have a lot of boxes checked. Now it's a question of, do the lineups make sense that they're all going to do the same thing, in the clutch? And last night they lose not playing him. But I do worry that that's why they didn't play him, is they're like, does he fit into that when it matters most?
No, I mean that's absolutely gonna be the defining last 6 minutes of the games as the season goes on. He hasn't been there all year because of the injuries, so there's still a familiarity they're trying to get with him. Yeah. But I just don't know that they're going to trust that there's going to be great decisions made. And when you've got other better decision makers and you've got a couple of guys that have been your go-to guys all year with Booker and Brooks, like do you trust a guy like Colin Gillespie just a little bit more in those situations, or even a Grayson Allen? Like, trust them a little bit more. They're going to be strong with the ball. They're not going to turn it over, so that at the end of the possession, you got a better chance for like your best 2 offensive players this season to take those shots, because you're going to maintain the ball, not turn it over, and you're going to get a shot on that possession. I think Jalen Green is just a guy that you kind of, you're kind of like got a little bit of butterflies in your stomach sometimes, like watching him. If you're Jordan Ott, there's going to be other nights, man, he's going to be electric, and you roll it. You roll with it on those nights, because he gets so confident when he starts off a game well, or he has a good first half. He's so confident the rest of the night. There's a good chance you'll see him on the court to finish games on those particular occasions.
Let's give a shout out to Paolo Banchero here. Had 19 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists. He did have 4 turnovers. He was a plus 14 in this game. And I think the thing that stood out to me the most about him was he made some big-time defensive plays in this one, including in the clutch. You know, offensively, he had some good things. He still is the player that I always talk about where at times he looks like he is this great engine. He has all the footwork and everything else. And there are times when I feel like he puts himself in an 8-dribble back down. And he even had this in the game. But to make defensive plays, when your role on the team is to be an offensive guy when they struggle offensively, to make defensive plays in the clutch, I thought was great leadership from him, and it's really one of the reasons they got the win.
Yeah, I agree with that. He didn't have necessarily, one of his better offensive games, but you noticed him the entire time, and he was on the floor a couple of times in the mix in a scrum, fighting for a loose ball, the game on the line. They've got other guys that you kind of count on for that. I thought Wendell Carter was sensational in this game. His energy and effort, man, and just physicality off the charts. You're always getting that from Suggs. De Silva's a guy that really gets after it defensively. So it's like Banchero's a guy, you're counting on to get buckets and carries, but man, it goes a long way when you're willing to go and fight and get in the mix defensively and compete. So I agree with that. It's a really important win for the Magic, I felt like. Yeah. I don't know where their season's going because I think they're still a tough team to score against. Their defense can still be that good on given nights. But a tough year, man, with the injuries, and I don't know. It's probably going to be over pretty quickly. But yeah. I'm going to give a pat on the back because of the way that they responded to that game. I still can't wrap my head around losing by 52 points and giving up a 31-0 run in an NBA game when you've got your guys and you're playing for a lot. I don't understand it, how that's possible. So I didn't know what exactly was about to transpire with this team the rest of the way. And yet here they are, man. They get a good win, a very, very tight win, tie game, basically 2 minutes to go. They find a way to get it done. And again, so important in the East, man. Stay at least in 8. Give yourself 2 opportunities to get in because you just look at the top and who you're going to have to play. Now, I think a lot of people are falling in love with Boston, and rightfully so. I think that might be the most complete team with Tatum back because Detroit's never won a playoff series collectively. They're young. They're going through it. They've got offensive limitations with their shooting. The Cavs are streaky, a little bit unpredictable. They've got a couple of guys that might struggle in big spots in the postseason with their shooting. So and then you got the Knicks, who they haven't solved the Karl-Anthony Towns situation offensively like all year. They're a little bit inconsistent. So I just think with the East, it's just get in, man. Just get in. And the best way to do that is guarantee yourselves an opportunity, 2 opportunities to win 1 game to give yourself a shot in a best of 7. West is a little different, man. If you're not at least in 6, like you're in trouble. We all know that, like big, big trouble.
Yeah. I almost don't know. I mean, maybe it's a question for next week or another show, but Boston to me feels like the one team that's maybe not beatable. And that's the irony is you can't tank when you're in the play-in because, as you mentioned, it's do or die. So it's not like you're going to lose that first one. Although I should shout out, Detroit's been playing well even in the absence of Cade Cunningham. Real quickly, though, here's my thing about Orlando. Their offense frustrates me. And part of it is I don't think that they generate clean looks. Despite the fact, it's not like they have less offensive talent or significantly less off talent than a team like Phoenix, who generates great looks nonstop. They're constantly getting to the rim and either trying to get a shot up or kicking to the corner, and they just generate a lot of corner shots. But Orlando doesn't. And part of me thinks they got to hire Tim Legler. They got to back up the truck here because who are you kicking out to? They have so many players that I would absolutely love if they could make a shot. How good would Jalen Suggs be with like a super reliable 3-point shot? How about Tristan Da Silva? I love that guy's game. Anthony Black wasn't in this one, but you give him a 3-point shot, he would be phenomenal. Like they have so many guys that I'm like, man, I love everything about them but their shot. And that's kind of the story. They go 10 of 29. They only take 29, which is a horrible number to generate, and then they only make 10 of them. To me, this is why I think the Magic are hard to buy into. I love their defense. They have some pieces, but they just have too many guys that I do not count on to consistently make threes, and they don't even generate them for them anyway.
Bane's the only guy, and it's, you're right about that. So when you go and you just pull up their numbers, which I did after the game, I watched the game, and then I just want to go and put some context on it with guys. You look at the 3-point percentage numbers, and you just go right down the list, and it's like you don't hit a 4 anywhere. Like nobody starts their 3-point percentage with the number 4, which any team in the league, you're going to find that. Like somebody's doing that, even if guys on limited possessions or they're right at it, like right at the cusp. This team, 31, 36, 38, 33, 32, 32, 31, 31, 32, 18, 35, 30. It's like Bane's 38 and he's about as close as it comes. And like on this team, you're targeting him defensively. So his looks are going to be tougher because to me, if you leave him at all in the half court, like you've made a massive mistake. You have to just stay home and no help responsibility if he gives the ball up and make Banchero, make those guys, beat you either one-on-one or beat you with a double team from somebody else. Leave all those guys pretty much. Leave all of them except Bane. And that's a tough spot, man. They're 10 for 29. It's not their worst performance of the year percentage-wise, but 29 attempts. They're in that same boat with Detroit, just Detroit has this incredible playmaker, right? A big point guard that sees everything, that makes the game so easy for guys to get shots that aren't threes. Like that's what Cade Cunningham does for their team. They don't have that on this team. They don't have that big natural point guard with vision all over the floor that can command two defenders and then find somebody that's not a three from a bad three-point shooter. I feel like that's what Orlando gets when they do force a double team or they do force a rotation. Detroit is similar in their three-point shooting personnel, but they just have this guy that's able to win possessions in a different way in Cade Cunningham that Orlando doesn't have.
I agree. I don't think this is a roster that is built a way that has like you say, okay, in the coming years it's going to grow into this. I do think they're going to have to make some choices to kind of round it out.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
But nonetheless, here's what I give them. I always talk about the three pillars of what it takes to be a champion or like a true contender in the NBA, and it's talent. I think they're deficient there because their roster isn't well balanced. It's not that they're not talented players. It's that the talent is not checking all the boxes you need, primarily shooting. And as you mentioned, some point guard player, that type of set-the-table player. Franz Wagner, though, coming back, it sounds like tonight, then maybe he provides some of that, but the runway's so short, who knows? Then you talk about connection. When they lose by 50 points, I worry about the connection, some of the quotes that came out. But to your point, they did bounce back in this one, so maybe there is still something there. The thing they have, though, is toughness. This team is just tough, man. And I think it's the reason that they're even in the play-in is that they do have an identity, and that is that there's just so many dogs on this team that give it their all. And the personality of the roster really is Jalen Suggs' personality because that guy, 6 turnovers, he had some horrible play in this game, but he never stops. He'll make a horrible play and 4 seconds later make a heroic play to change it. And it's just that is kind of, to me, the magic in a nutshell. Flawed, but they're going to be tough and they're going to go hard. Other than the 50-point loss.
No doubt. You're going to have to, they're going to keep getting up off the deck and coming at you. So they're one of those teams, but at the end, they're not going to have enough firepower. And so that's why they do need some personnel, like a hard, deep look at their personnel going into next season, because it's not like they're completely irrelevant, but they're clearly not on the level of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. And the East is sort of in that flux area where like you feel like one off season can thrust you into that category. I thought they would be there this year. I thought they'd be a top 4 team going into the season. Based on their defense a year ago, you're hoping that they get Wagner and Banchero healthy. You got Suggs, you get Desmond Bane to like answer the one thing they didn't have. I thought this would be a top 4 team. So they're not irrelevant, but clearly they're deficient. And who knows how they look at it. They might look at it and say, well, why don't you just give us 65 games of Banchero and Wagner? Let's see what that looks like, because they haven't had that the last 2 seasons.
Yeah. All righty, let's take our first break here. And on the other side, we have another game we want to break down. And namely, we want to talk about the Portland Trail Blazers, who got a huge win over who might be their competition in the play-in. That is the Los Angeles Clippers. They did this in LA. Might be their best win of the year. We're going to break that down on the other side. Partner here at the All-NBA Show, so listen up. I know, it's spring reset time. Upgrade your everyday essentials with fewer pieces, better materials. This time of year always makes you rethink your closet, so if you're trying to keep fewer things but better ones, pieces that are well-made and easy to wear all the time, then you got to keep coming back to Quince. The fabrics feel elevated. The fits are thoughtful, and the pricing actually makes sense. They really do have like a wide selection of really high quality material clothing there. Quince makes high quality everyday essentials using premium materials like 100% European linen and their insanely soft flow knit activewear fabric. That's right. They have a lot of activewear stuff on there too. If you check it out, I'm telling you, they have thousands of different pieces to choose from. Their men's linen pants and shirt are lightweight, breathable, and comfortable, basically the perfect layer for spring. The pants strike the right balance between laid back and refined, so you look put together without trying too hard. And their flow knit activewear, moisture wicking, anti-odor, and soft enough that you'll actually want to wear it all day. The best part is their prices are 50 to 60% less than similar brands. This is 100% true. I just made an order a couple weeks ago. Clothes came in. They're great, and the pricing is great. How do they do it? Quince works directly with ethical factories and cuts out the middlemen, so you're paying for quality, not brand markup. Everything is designed to last and makes getting dressed easy. Refresh your wardrobe with Quince. Go to quince.com/allNBA for free shipping and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. Go to QUINCE.com/allNBA for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/allNBA. Also want to tell you guys about FanDuel. One more week of the tournament. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get up to $300 back in bonus bets every day for 10 days. Here's how it works. Place a tournament bet using the token, and if it doesn't win, you'll get up to $300 back in bonus bets every single day for 10 straight days. That's 10 chances to play all tourney long, from game props and money lines to spreads, totals, futures, and more. You can even mix things up with a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. However you want to fill out your bracket, FanDuel makes it easy to stay in on the action day after day. So visit FanDuel.com/AllCity to sign up today. That's FanDuel.com/AllCity to get in on the action.
Must be 21 or older and present in select states. For Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.
All right, welcome back here. Segment 2 of the All NBA Show. Make sure you throw us a like. If you're new to the show, this is what we do 3 times a week, and then once over the weekend with Mark Stein. We talk about the games. Whatever games happened the night before, we talk about them and try to break them down. Another big one, Legs. Portland gets the win 114-104 over the Clippers, and this one had huge implications for the standings because whoever won it was going to have a one-game lead, or a half-game lead, I should say, on the other in the play-in standings with just 6 games to go. So, or I should say, actually, Portland pulls within a half game here. So they're still in the fight with the Clippers. And this might be the teams that play each other in the play-in. This could be the matchup that determines the final spot. But first, before we get to that, I just want to ask you what stood out about this game other than Drew Holiday's 30 points on 7 of 15 shooting and Denny Avdia's 28, 11, and 8.
Well, let me make a big statement right out of the gate. I love the Portland Trailblazers. I don't like them. I like the Charlotte Hornets. I've talked a lot about the Hornets. Okay. I like them a lot. I love the Portland Trailblazers.
Okay.
And I don't know if you agree with me on this. I love them. And I'm so excited. Next Wednesday, we have Portland San Antonio as an ESPN game. I haven't seen Portland in person this year. I've watched them a lot because I'm so intrigued by their young talent and some of the veterans they've had, the years that they've had, starting with Drew Holiday. But I love watching this team play, man. They to me, are about as exciting as it gets in the Western Conference when you look at like the next emerging team. It's the Portland Trailblazers to me because they've got so many guys that are top-tier elite defenders.
Yeah.
And they've got really young, exciting offensive players to go with it. Not many teams have both of those. Like, there's some really exciting offensive players in this league that are on teams. You're like, hey, we'll see what that turns into in a couple of years. Like, they have guys that can really get after defensively as well. They play hard. They seem really connected. Give Thiago Splitter a lot of credit because, you know, their season, obviously, with everything went down with Chauncey at the beginning of the year, you know, that's a lot of flux for a team. What you expect your season to be and who you're answering to, and like his imprint on what your style is going to be, and on the fly, You've got to hand it off to an interim coach in Thiago Splitter, and what a job he's done. So that's the first thing I just want to say. Big picture for me, Portland, how excited I am about not only what they are now, but like what their future can be, because I think their parts fit and they make a lot of sense. So I don't know. Let's just get your comments on that. Just big picture on Portland and how I view them. And I'm going to hear what you have to say about that before we get into this specific game.
This is one area where we're pretty far apart. I don't love Portland, but to your point, because I don't know offensively, and I don't even know about the pieces fitting. They're another team to me that is going to have to make some choices to round out their roster and make it a little bit more coherent. But maybe you're right about it. But one thing I will tell you is they have a lot of athletes, and I think that's why their defense, or one of the reasons why their defense can be so good. Last night it was connected. They did a lot of things on the defensive end, some rotations that were tough. And then to shut down, I mean, I just talked about the other day about how Darius Garland and Kawhi Leonard are becoming one of the best duos in the NBA. They handled them in this one. So, yes, they have a lot of athletes and a lot of length, and I think that's what makes them difficult is their ability to put athletes on ball, athletes off ball, and just fly around.
Well, look, man, let's just look at these guys, and you saw it all on display in this game. Tamani Kamara, anybody in the league will tell you this is one of the really, truly elite defenders in the league. Relentless, long, smart, all of those things. You've got a Drew Holiday who still does it at an elite level and actually is having probably, I'd say, second or third best offensive year of his career. I can't believe, honestly, that he's doing this offensively after kind of how he wound it down in Boston. Now, as it turns out, he did that in Boston because they didn't really need that out of him in Boston because they had other guys doing it. Yeah. It's because there were a lot of nights Drew Holiday had a big impact in the game, but he'd give you 8 points, 10 points. Every now and then he'd have a bigger scoring game. Like the way he looked last night and the way he's looked most of this season is actually incredible to me based on the stage of his career, how he looked the last couple of years in Boston. You realize he was doing that by choice or by design or by like what was better for the team, or he didn't have to. He has to more on this team because they don't have a ton of elite offensive players. He's been incredible this year offensively, and he did it again last night. Man, 30 points, 7 for 15 from the three. The defense is always there. So you got Kamara, you got Drew Holiday, you got Matisse Thybulle, who again, this is one of the better defenders in the league coming off your bench on the wing. You've got a guy like Robert Williams in there. You got Clingan. That's a lot of guys that love to defend. And then the other guys just battle. Like a guy like Avdia, like he fights defensively. He's not super fleet of foot, but he's physical and he cares and he's really strong and he's developed into really like an absolute top tier offensive player in this league. So I saw it all on display last night, and I'm so glad I get to see him in person next Wednesday. And I love the fact that they're playing for so much because you said it, man. Like these teams are so bunched together, 8, 9, and 10 in the West. Like, it's really curious to see how this is going to play out. But Portland has a legit shot here, man, to get to a best-of-7 round.
I still don't see it. So I'm almost surprised by it because I still don't see it. But to your point, they just beat the team I didn't think they would be able to beat. So maybe there is something there. Let me just talk about this game real quick. I think Thiago Splitter does a really good job with his team. And one example of that, Donovan Clingan gives you 29 minutes and 4 rebounds. That's really rough. But the reason he did it is because the Clippers are able to pull him away from the basket. And he's a guy that can make a huge defensive impact. But I do wonder if he's one of those guys who also is just extremely susceptible to a stretch big that will take away his defensive prowess. You go with Robert Williams for a little bit, and then you play small for a little bit, and those lineups worked, but the Clingan lineup last night did not. What do you make of him? Because he's such a great player, but I do feel like he can be taken away. And in a playoff series, these are the type of numbers I look at and say, man, can a team do that to them? And if so, he's taken out of the whole game.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's always going to be the problem in this league for anybody that's like that big that, it's difficult for guys to be that big and like super agile out on the perimeter where you're not worried about switches. You're not worried about, coverage of the 3-point line on a rotation. Anybody that big in the league, it's difficult in those situations. And there are going to be teams that are going to have certain personnel lineups on the floor that are going to make it very difficult for him to stay on the floor, but they've got other options. It's not like that's the only lineup they can put on the floor at times. They can play smaller because they've got great athleticism on their wings. They've got another legitimate athlete in the middle that they can put out there as well. So if this was all they had, and I didn't love when they played smaller, like what that looked like, or they didn't have some of these other guys that I'm talking about that can like a Drew Holiday or a Kamara that can guard multiple guys on any trip, I'd be more concerned about it. I'm not as much because I think they do have other buttons they can push in those situations.
Yeah. What else about this game? Is there anything else that stood out? And maybe even on the Clippers side, you're less, I guess, surprised by this one than I am, but the Clippers, this is a tough game that puts them in a bit of a pickle down the stretch. Now every game is a razor's margin.
Yeah, I mean, and the Clippers, after the way they turned their season around, have been a great story. And they've got a guy in Kawhi Leonard that, you get him in a playoff series, like that's a lot to deal with. He's still that good. For me, this game was more about how impressed I was with what was at stake on the road for the Portland Trailblazers. And by the way, they don't have Shaedon Sharpe, and you might not see Shaedon Sharpe the rest of the year. It's going to be close. They talked about a month ago reevaluating him in 4 to 6 weeks. That's about now you start reevaluating him. But that sounds more like, at some point, if they're able to get into the playoffs, maybe you'll see Shaedon Sharpe, maybe not. It's one of their best players. So he hasn't been there. Jeremy Grant didn't play last night either. It's another big-time wing defender with length. He didn't even play last night. So for me, this was more about Portland missing 2 key guys, going on the road in a game with a lot at stake, and just handling the Clippers. And they got up 18 in this game and controlled them. And for me, I was just so impressed. I've liked them all year. I officially love them now. I love watching them. I love how they compete. I love watching what Avdia's become. And what's funny? I was thinking about this last night. Bad organizations, which the Washington Wizards are, we would agree, I think.
They have been, yep.
It's bad when you get it right and you don't even know it. Like they have Denny Avdia. They don't even know what Denny Avdia was. Like the Denny Avdia moves on, and now you see what Denny Avdia really is. And so, even when they had it right and they projected, because when a guy's picked that high, you're hoping he turns into what he looks like now, or you wouldn't pick him in that spot. So they take Avdia, and they don't even know what they have, and they move on from him. It's just like back in the day when I was playing, and we traded Ben Wallace after 2 years in the league. They had no idea what Ben Wallace was. And they traded him to Orlando, and he wins 4 Defensive Player of the Years down the road. It's like, it made me kind of chuckle a little bit. And I played for the Wizards, and it's like, and I have great memories of playing there, but it's like, it's been a long time, man. And there's a reason some organizations seem to always get it right, and some organizations seem to always get it wrong. And this is the case in which they got it right and still got it wrong.
I wonder if it's becoming even more important for organizations. I would say this in the NBA, that players, win championships, meaning individual players, you have to have them, and that's the reason you win. I think organizations, how are you organizationally, is becoming more and more important. And we're seeing this, obviously, with our top teams. Thunder, they run from top bottom. They know what they're doing, and they're built it, and they get it done. San Antonio's put together something that feels like it's going to last. So I'm just – do you agree with that? And then you have your tough war. So if you have an organization that historically hasn't been able to execute a plan and a vision and stick to it, it almost feels harder than ever. Even if you get lucky with a great player, you still have to make so many decisions to get across the finish line. And some of these organizations just – you don't have a lot of confidence they'll be able to pull that off.
Yeah, and I mean, I even look at this is getting off topic here because we haven't talked about this team, but even look at Oklahoma City. And going out this year and acquiring Jared McCain. You're looking at a guy coming back from an ACL. Yeah, coming back from an ACL, and it's like he's not playing much in Philly. He's not playing well, which you wouldn't expect him to coming back from that injury. But my goodness, didn't he show you enough last year in the 30 games he played to know that this guy can flat outscore? And so they're looking at their team and they're going, yeah, okay, it's not going to cost us anything. Let's go get Jared McCain and add him to the mix as another scorer on a night when maybe you want to go in a different direction. If you're Mark Daigneault in the playoffs and you on a given night, maybe a couple of the guys you're counting on to play because you love their defense and they're just not making shots. You know what? And we're down 8. Let's throw a Jared McCain in the situation and see if that can give us a spark. They're just smart in their approach, and they typically look at players and personnel decisions differently than some of the teams that typically really struggle to get these things right. They're looking at different criteria, and they typically hit home runs on most of them.
Real quickly, we didn't talk about these two games, but just because we have a minute here, the Pistons beat the Raptors last night, 127-116 with no Cade Cunningham, and the Lakers put a beat down on the Cavaliers, 127-113. It wasn't as close as that. You know, we always try to just pick games that we're going to watch in full and break down rather than just kind of talk around. But these ones we can talk around. And here's what I'll say. I actually watched this Lakers game live because we thought we were going to talk about this one, but it ended up not being that interesting. The Lakers, man, they are so good right now. They just are so locked in, and everybody's playing their role well. Like even last night, LaRavia, who I think is a guy that you worry about, you know, is he going to be a liability, this or that? He seems to have an understanding right now of what his role is and how to execute it. Ayton is executing his role. The Lakers really are. I mean, I can't tell if this is a hot run that they're on right now, because you could just make it say, oh, well, Luka's playing well. He's in shape. He's doing this. But it's not just that. Their whole team is kind of really understands who and what they are and how they win games.
Well, a big thing that's going on with them is we question two things. I question two things about them primarily. Are they good enough defensively? Did they really make you feel them defensively enough to really believe that they can challenge these top teams in the West? That was one thing we questioned. And I think the other thing I questioned when I saw them, and I saw them a lot in person this year, was it just didn't look like a team that had any levity to it. Like they didn't. It looked heavy. It just didn't look like, is this fun? You guys having fun? Like who's having fun on this team? It was hard to tell, you know? So they've answered that. Number one, the chemistry's been better. And it's palpable. And you can say, well, yeah, they're winning. No, I'm talking about like at the beginning of this, it felt different to me because we had them at that time. We called them, and I was like, it felt different. Like just talking to guys before the game, watching the interaction during timeouts, like just their reaction to each other in the moment when they faced adversity. Not as much shoulder dropping and looking around at like, what the hell are you doing type looks at each other. Saw a lot of that beginning of the year. So that seems like that for whatever reason. And look, I think they attribute some of it to the conversation that JJ Redick had with LeBron James, just about like, kind of how they need to play offensively now with these three guys finally healthy together, and he has to have a little bit of a different role offensively. And I think they felt like that his acceptance of that seemed like it was really something to unlock some stuff for this team. And so it does feel lighter when you see them. And then of course, you know, the winning, obviously that creates a healthier locker room. So they've answered kind of both of those things. So so they answered that first. The second thing is the defense. You know what they've found? Their offense is so damn good right now, it's not mattering as much. So that's really what they found, is that. Now, look, you get into a series with a top defense and you've got adjustments to make against them, then you're going to obviously be able to start to take away some of the things offensively that are clicking for them right now when you don't have time to prepare for them as much. So we'll see if their offense can continue to do that. And then maybe their defense looks again like will be the Achilles heel of this team. Right now it's not, because their offense is so damn good. And Luka Doncic is playing, you know, absolutely out of his mind. And particularly with his efficiency, with his deep shooting, which is a big part of who he is as a player. And when he's shooting 33% for a month from the three and he's taking 10, 11, 12 a night, they're guardable. When he's shooting that shot at over 40%, and a lot of nights he's making like 50% of those shots, that's a totally different feel in how you guard them, what you're susceptible to, how you get broken down. So their offense, Adam, right now is so good. It's firing so hot. It doesn't matter about their defense right now. We'll see if that's still the case when they get into a series against a much better defensive team that can just plan for them night after night. Can you limit some of that efficiency, and then the defense gets exposed again?
Luka Doncic, I don't know if it was the black uniforms or what, but it's the skinniest I've ever seen him. Like he looked unbelievable last night, and he's been obviously looking in great shape. But last night, just watching him, I was like, my God, that guy's skinny.
And he said the last time we had a game, I don't know how long, a few weeks ago, and he played incredible. And he just said, we asked him, what's the difference? And he's like, my stamina. I just feel better right now than I typically have this late in the season. And look, he did have time off too this year. Like he missed some games. And I actually think there is a theory about that. If these guys that are high usage guys, the man that take a lot of jumpers, miss a chunk of time at some point. It seems like they do have fresher legs later in the year, but it's clicking right now. Like his timing on his release, on his step back is right now. It's so consistent because that's not always the case when he's going through those stretches when he's not shooting well. He doesn't release it always the same way. He doesn't get the same lift, doesn't get the same separation. He takes that shot so many times. That's really important that it looks the same every time. That tells you his legs are strong. And that's what's going on with Luka right now, man. And it's amazing because they weren't good enough, I don't think, from a record standpoint to really look at him seriously as an MVP candidate earlier in the year. I think you have to look at him seriously as a candidate now because the winning is going with this incredible production and the efficiency is as good as it's been all year.
He's also just playing a lot better. And I know some of the numbers, have been good even previously, but we're talking about him looking thinner than ever, having better stamina than ever, because we're contrasting it to earlier in the year when it didn't necessarily feel that way. But nonetheless, impressive. And then just quick shout out. I didn't watch this game, but shout out to Detroit. They lose Cade Cunningham. They still get a win over Minnesota, a win over Toronto. Those are playoff teams. And they take Oklahoma City to overtime. They're playing really well. And I know it shouldn't be a surprise for a 1 seed, but it is to me. So I got to give them a shout out there. Let's close the show, though, Legs, by talking about the all-offense team. All-offense team in the NBA. This seems like it should be an easy task because most of what we vote when we talk about all-stars and all-NBA is offense, and then we factor defense in a little bit. And yet, I thought this was unbelievably hard to do. First team, second team, all offense. After, for me, the first three guys. And I'll just go ahead and come out because I think we both have the top first three guys. Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Put them in whatever order you want. They all three are just, to me, like S tier, A+, 100th percentile offensive players. And they are easy picks for me to be on that list.
Oh, yeah, that was immediate. And so there's not really any point in spending a lot of time on these three guys. I think it goes without saying, I don't think there's a single person really that watches the NBA, even remotely regularly, that wouldn't have those three guys on a list like this. It's just based on offense, and it's just based on this season. Yeah. That's it. Not like career-wise, not like what we expect, or whatever. So this is just this season. And those three guys have to be on there. You're right.
And real quickly, let me just say there's three guys on here that don't qualify, for me at least. Maybe they did for you. But Tyrese Halliburton obviously didn't play. I think he's a guy that's on this list. Like, he's one of the first or second team all offense. He's a system. You're going to have a good offense with him. He does so many things. Steph Curry is on this list, but not this year. Just has missed too much time. Not on this list. And then Giannis, same thing. I think Giannis probably is. The pressure he puts on into the paint, the pressure he puts in transition, he's probably on the offensive team as well, first or second, wherever he lands. But all three of those guys to me are like ineligible just because this year they didn't have the health or in Tyrese Halliburton's place, didn't even play.
I agree with you about ineligibility this year. Obviously, Halliburton didn't play. Another guy that I didn't consider this year is Tatum. He'd be another
Tatum
guy
as well.
That I think, because he's clearly going to be on one of these two teams. I mean, there's a good chance he's on the first team. Yeah. But he didn't qualify. Curry, obviously, the same. But I will disagree a little bit about Halliburton in regard to, I don't know that it'd be automatic first or second team for me.
Really?
No, he's a really good offensive player, and he's a phenomenal dual threat. But there are stretches of the season or like individual nights when he's very quiet as a scorer. And you're kind of like, when he has it going in both ways, absolutely. But for me, that's part of the beauty of the guys that we write down is they do it every night.
Yeah.
Every night. And I don't know that Tyrese Halliburton does every night as a scorer, as much as I love his game. And look, somebody doesn't have to because you got Siakam, you got other guys, they play differently. I understand that. But there are nights when I'm kind of like, damn, Halliburton's quiet, man. Like, you got to get yourself going in this game. Yeah. And these guys that I've got down, and on the 10, I don't really ever feel that way about them. I'm never like, oh man, what's going on tonight? Kind of quiet. They're not quiet. These guys are always loud, and that's why I don't know that I would automatically say Halliburton be on the top two teams.
Well, real quickly, I do like this comment here from BBT Boy Minnesota. Nah, that's a cop out. Rank them 1 through 3. We didn't talk about doing this, but I do think it's fun. Like, these three guys, you're splitting hairs because they're so good and they do it in slightly different ways. But if you were to put it in order, Jokic, Luka, Shai, what's the order you would go with if you're just saying best offensive players in the NBA?
I probably would go. I'd probably go. Oh man, I'd probably go Shea, Luka,
I know it's
Jokic.
hard. Oh
Probably.
man, no way! I think I would have it in the
that's
exact
probably what I'd do.
opposite order. I think I would go
You'd have
Jokic,
Jokic
Luka,
one?
Shea. Well, number one, let's talk about this. Number one offense of all time right now this year, this Denver Nuggets team. You go through all the history of it. When he's on the court, you're in a 1-28 offensive rating. That's been for 10 years. I think absolutely he generates more open shots than anyone. He probably has the best touch from floater range than anyone. You can go to him in a pinch and he's going to get off a tough shot. So to me, absolutely, I think Jokic is number one. But
I probably would have, and I probably more coin toss between Shea and Luka.
we have this
one.
exactly flipped.
That's probably what I would have done.
Oh, wow. All right. Who do you have? So the last two spots here are tough. Who are the next two guys? I went back and forth, man, on this one.
I did too. It was hard, man. It was hard. I wrote down, I think I have like 14 guys I was considering. And like that next 11 after the top three, it was really, really difficult. And for me, I think what it came down to is when you start looking at them and you're trying to differentiate, there has to be some specific criteria on that particular player that you look at to make your argument for or against, right? That's kind of how I look at it. For me, the next guy on this spot is Kawhi Leonard.
I had him fifth, but I had him on the first team, and I'm with you.
I'm putting him on there, man. And I know that like you look up right now and the Clippers are basically 2 games over 500. I'm not putting that at all on Kawhi Leonard. I mean, and they've turned their season around after the first couple months, but man, he's still, when you watch him, he's still as close to a machine offensively as anybody in this league. 28 a night, 50% from the field, which is pretty much standard. 38 from the three, so just under 40, 90% from the line, and he scored 20 or more in every game since Thanksgiving. Like, I don't think I really don't know if anybody will ever break Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's record for 20 points in consecutive games. I really don't know if that'll ever happen. I think that's how impressed I am with that record, that you don't have a bad night, foul trouble, get hurt during a game, whatever, sit in the fourth quarter of a blowout when you only had 18. Like, it's so incredibly difficult and almost incomprehensible to think about Shai's streak. But Kawhi's up there in the 50s. He hasn't had one. He's had 19 points on November 25th. That's the last time he had less than 20 points. And he does it damn near every night, 50% from the field, and shoots a high percentage from the three and gets to the line a ton.
There are 3 guys I probably would put in this list of Shai, Kawhi, and Kevin Durant who, when they get to their spot, like before they ever shoot it, you're just like, dang, they got to their spot. They're making it for sure. Shai gets to his spot every single time. Kawhi Leonard has a lot of that in him too, where he's so strong that he can just hold you off and walk to his spot. And he plays at such a tempo that he'll slowly get to his spot. Like he'll just walk to his spot, and he's so strong and has such control of the ball. So he made my list too. I know it might be controversial. He's not the all-around system player like a Luka or a Jokic, but it just doesn't matter. He puts so much pressure on you because he just walks to his spot every single time. All right, who's the other guy on the first team then for you?
This was probably the toughest call of all.
Yeah.
Who makes it onto the first team and who gets pushed into the second? And to me, it was neck and neck between these two guys. But I'm going to go with Cade Cunningham ultimately.
Wow.
On this spot, and I know that I wish his 3-point shooting numbers were better.
Yeah.
But he's shooting 40% from the 3-point line since the All-Star break. And I know he got hurt. He's missed some games lately, but still, man, he was a 31% 3-point shooter at the start of the year. And that was a big thing for me because, like, that is an answer for great offensive players a lot of times. And that matters in this league particularly. Most of these guys can get their own from out there, or they, in terms of like a guy like Jokic, who shoots them mainly when he's facing up and they give him space, can shoot it at a good enough percentage. You got to honor it. That wasn't really the case with Cade. He's up that, but more importantly to me, he's 10 assists a night. And he's so good at making what I think is a really limited offensive team, like adequate offensively to have the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. I know their defense is a big part of it, but like it doesn't matter if your defense is number 1. If your offense just stinks, you're not going to be the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. So Cade Cunningham makes their offense adequate enough most nights because of his ability to make the game easier for guys that are limited offensively. That's a big deal for me. Like
that part.
I'll just tell you right now, Jaylen Brown, I was torn between these two guys. I went with Cade Cunningham because of the playmaking factor and the offense he has to generate for a team that's pretty anemic offensively outside of him.
So I have him on my second team, and I almost didn't even have him on the second team, and then I came back to that. I said, wait, hold on, this is silly. Because they really don't have great spacing.
If you didn't have Cade Cunningham in either one of these two teams, I'm front right now. I'd slam my laptop down and the show would be over.
I have him on. Right now. I have him on. But I was saying it was this. Well, first of all, it's not like Detroit has this like lights out offense or anything like that. And to your point, I am curious to see how he performs in this playoffs. But the truth is, they have a defensive roster and they're better for it. But if you just gave him an offensive roster, if you said, we're not contending yet, but let's just put a bunch of shooters around him. I was sitting here thinking he controls everything so much that they could probably be a 3 seed in the East with just offensive guys all around him. And he'd probably be putting up 15 assists a game. He controls the game that well. He finds guys. And to your point, right now he's making guys who have offensive limitations. He's making it work. And that's how good he is. And if he ever gets a roster with a bunch of shooting, I do think he would look
Adam, not to mention the fact, can you imagine how much because I just love the way he plays. He's so under control, like just so physically dominant and smart. But can you imagine if you had guys on the floor that you were like that defenders were like leaking out toward to guard at the 3-point line? The amount of space that Cade Cunningham would operate in, he might average 28 and 14.
Yeah, that's true.
If you gave him that kind of space. Yeah. Because his scoring numbers would also go up, I believe. As it is, he's playing in like these tight areas where like you're face guarding Duncan Robinson all night. So they try to take him out. And now he's playing in these spaces where like you got 3 guys on the edge of the lane waiting on him, and he still does this. So that's why ultimately I put him on there.
I think it's a good one. All right, so now we go to second team, and I'm telling you, this is tough. So what do you have for second team?
Well, the first guy I just mentioned, Jaylen Brown, I have to put him on there. Like, and you're missing Tatum. I look at the rest of their roster, and I talked about this a lot. Like, Peyton Pritchard, who I love, former 6th man of the year, but like he only started 17 games in his career before this season. He's our second leading scorer. Derek White has not had a good year shooting the ball. So you add that all up, and to see Jaylen Brown take it up to almost 30 a night, 47%, more than respectable in a high volume 20 shot a night guy. 34%. I wish that was up a little bit in the 3-point area. I wish but he doesn't need to as much because he's so good in the mid-range. And then 7.6 free throw attempts a game this year. Like that's a career high for him, and shooting just a tad under 80%. But I look at the team that is massive to me overachiever this year based on their offensive personnel, and where would they be without Jaylen Brown having this kind of year?
He's one of the guys that didn't make the cut for me. So he wasn't on the list, and he was right next.
Man,
and it's not because he's not a great player. He's a great two-way player, and this is where the difference between all offense and all NBA is. I'm curious if people disagree with that, but I'm telling you, there's good players on this list. Not like it put some bum in there, although there's one guy you might hate that I have on my list. But yeah, he didn't make the cut. He is in my honorable mention, so he's like first or second guy that didn't make my list. I have a couple controversial omissions, I think.
I'm very because I know one of these guys you're going to have, and I'm curious to see comparing him and comparing Jaylen Brown this season.
Okay, yeah,
this season alone. Yeah. I'm curious. So
it's kind of what you value, to be honest with you. Some of this is
who's your first guy then on the second team that you want to mention?
This one I don't really have like the order of the guys on. I did for the first. Like,
I did not matter. Yeah, not in order. Yeah. Just like just give me a name.
So I have Donovan Mitchell on my list here.
I have him on here as well.
So Donovan Mitchell would have been the next one, and it's the combination of playmaking and just it's so hard to stay in front of him. The 3-point shooting, the high volume. Like I said, any of these guys, if you told me they weren't on your list, if they were honorable mention, I would agree, because there's like 8 guys that are in this next list for me personally.
I had Mitchell too, but I'm telling you right now, he barely made it. On the second team, and there's a reason for that, because I'm looking at the totality. He has not shot the ball well at all since basically the All-Star game, All-Star weekend. His shooting numbers since the All-Star weekend, he's down to 44% from the field and 30% from the 3-point line. On a lot of attempts. So for me, I don't know what is going on with him, but because normally, yes, man. And this guy's, he can be a machine, and he's so explosive, by the way. Like, he's one of those guys that when he gets it going and hits a couple of shots in a row, he is right up there with the top guys in this league in terms of very capable of having a 20-point quarter. Yeah. Like right in front of you, like here it comes, because he's got incredible elevation on his shot, so he can get it off whenever he wants. He's got a great change of pace, so he can He can juke guys, get by him, get to the line. Shoots a lot of threes, so he can get cooking from out there. He can rack up a lot of points in a short period of time, but he has not been as efficient as he typically is. And this has been going on now for basically, a month and a half. And he has not shot the ball as well or as efficiently.
This
so
happens
that's why
to him. Yeah. This happens
I was struggling with him a little bit.
Oh, sorry, I got a little delay here going on. But yeah, it happens to him a lot with Donovan Mitchell where he fades towards the end of the year. I think because he plays so hard, runs so fast and stuff. And he's talked about this in the past where he's like, I'm bad at pacing myself and then I get worn out by the playoffs. Hopefully that's not happening again.
All right, so
who's the next guy?
We do agree. We had both had Brown, both had Mitchell.
No, I did not have Jaylen Brown. I did not have Jaylen Brown.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. You said he didn't make the cut. That's right. That's right. Okay. All right. Well, the next guy I know you had on there was Anthony Edwards. I know you have him on there.
I do have Anthony Edwards on the list.
Of course. And that's what I'm saying.
And to be honest with you, he was probably my last guy I had. He might have been my last on the list. But yes.
Okay. Wow. It's okay because I know you love Ant. Don't you love Anthony Edwards?
I really do. I mean, the truth is, and people don't know this about.
I thought you were considering putting him on the first team. Really?
I have one guy.
When I was thinking about your list,
I have one guy that I just know you're gonna freak out. You're gonna just leave the show. I think as soon as I say it. But no, Anthony Edwards, I think belongs on this list. It was close there, but he's a tough cover, man. Can score at a bunch of different levels. He still needs to figure out how to fully solve all problems. That's his big weakness. And I do think that's why for me this year, that's why I was like I said, to me, I'm looking at Jaylen Brown, looking at Anthony Edwards, and I'm going, okay, scoring very close. I mean, Anthony Edwards is 0.7 above him, the two, but still, anyway, slice it 28.6, 29.3. Those are two, huge scoring numbers. Yeah.
Jaylen Brown 5.2 assists a game. Anthony Edwards 3.7, and I think Anthony Edwards has better offensive talent around than Jaylen Brown. It's 3.7. So to your point, solving problems and generating offense out of defensive traffic and the way teams play you. He hasn't done that as high a level. And this is fewest assists per game since his rookie year this year for him. Both of them pretty efficient, 47 and 49%. Very similar there. One big difference is Anthony Edwards is just a much better three-point shooter. He's much more lethal from out there, dangerous from out there. It's a bigger part of his game. He's a 40% three-point shooter. Jaylen Brown, 34. And both get to the line about the same number of times. So, and I just look at what they had to carry this year, and I thought that Jaylen Brown, for me, was an easier name to write down than Anthony Edwards, but I do have Anthony Edwards on this second team.
By the way, maybe on Friday, me and Tim will talk about why. Maybe the headline will be, nobody's talking about this. Nobody's talking about Jaden McDaniels being week to week right before the playoffs. Because if they don't have him, to me, they're done. They're just not. He's such a key piece to them, but we don't have time for it today. Okay, so we're a couple players in. We got a couple left. Who do you got?
Next, Jalen Brunson. I got to have Brunson in there.
I kept him off my list.
No, I got to have Brunson in there.
He's obviously phenomenal, but I do feel like he's one of these players that limits what you're going to be capable. Like when I think about a great offensive player, not only are you great, but you're going to make everyone else around you better. I think Jalen Brunson, even though he can do a bunch of things, there's still a lot of players that have to sacrifice to fit for him as opposed to be elevated for him. And that's why I left him off. Maybe you just don't think it matters because he's great enough that everyone just should sacrifice. But to me, that's why I took him off. But when you talk about players I love or don't love, I think Jalen Brunson's unbelievably talented. But to me, it's like there's something about it I don't believe in, and that's why I kept him off.
I mean, I know that stylistically it's not for everybody, but in terms of control of the game, in terms of, I think maybe at the top of the list for me, he still is top 5 in the league of who you trust in important moments in the last 6 minutes of the game.
Agree with that.
The guy he's not fazed by pressure.
Yeah.
And he plays some of his best basketball when they have to have it.
Yeah.
26 points a night, almost 7 assists, 46% from the field, 37 from the 3, 84 from the line. Like the numbers are efficient. The assist numbers pretty good, almost 7 a night. And his control of the game, possession by possession, and how he comes up big when they have to have it, that to me got him a spot on here.
Okay. So you have one more left, or do you have 2 more left?
So I said Jaylen Brown. I have Edwards. I have Mitchell, Brunson. I have one more, and I went to Kevin Durant.
Okay, so I had Kevin Durant up a little bit higher. You had him here. So I have two controversial ones. I guess they're controversial. They're not to me, though. One is James Harden, who it's a little under the radar.
He's not controversial. I had 4 names written down outside of these 10 players. He was one of the 4. So that's not controversial. I almost had him instead of Mitchell.
Yeah, I mean, so you almost just picked one from Cleveland, which I understand. Yeah, I kind of understand. 20 points a game. He's shooting 44% from 3 on 7 threes a game since getting to Cleveland. The guy still gets it done, man. He's still unbelievably. He has everything on the offensive end. If you take away the defense, yes, 100, to me, he's on this list. He's still that special. And then the last one.
Oh, God.
Let's talk about the number 1 offense of the year 2026.
Oh, come on. You going Jamal Murray?
No. LaMelo Ball. And I know this is crazy because it's not just him. You know, like that team has a lot of guys that fit his system, like what he does. But there is something to whatever you think of him. You just put him on the court and you watch this team play and you're like, man, that guy just makes plays out of nothing. And every time down the court, he's a threat to do something. I think obviously he has a reputation about these different things. But if you just want to talk about who's been the best offense for 4 months straight or 3.5 months straight, it's been that Charlotte Hornets team, and he is the engine of it. So I give it to him, even though I feel like this one is controversial.
You've put me in a very tough position here. You're going to force me to have to kind of say something negative about LaMelo Ball, man. I've been giving Hornets all kinds of love, and there's no doubt they're fun and all those things, man. I love watching them. He's exciting. He's entertaining.
Yeah.
How in the hell can you put a guy on the first 2 teams that shoots 40% from the field?
The results. It's the system, man. It's the system.
No.
We're talking about the number 1 offense.
No. Because the system is also tied into these other dudes, man, that have played so well.
They're good players, but
he creates some of that for them. But come on, man, 40% field goal percentage shooter. No, and he gives them the flair in this offense. He's a phenomenal passer. He does make guys better. You cannot have a guy that shoots 40% from the field that has incredibly questionable shot selection. Like a lot of nights on this list of these 2 teams.
You got the number 1 offense, and you got a guy.
Fact, if you're going to go there, I'm going to give you 3 names then that I wrote down that you're going to mention him. Then these other 3 guys I'm mentioning.
Okay. Let me hear.
Tyrese Maxey, I'm mentioning.
He was like the last guy to either because Maxey it's underrated the pressure
Maxey
he puts
didn't
on.
Make it for me
games.
Is because when he's out there by himself, he's not an efficient player.
Okay.
His numbers come way down in terms of efficiency.
Yeah.
So that just tells you like the tier of star that he is. But like in terms of like numbers every night, and for the most part efficient for most of his career and like even this year, but like his numbers even like post All-Star game have not been very good. I got to mention him. I got to mention Denny Avdia. Denny Avdia, man.
Come on.
I know you can't, but it makes no sense to me. Denny Avdia has been an absolute stud. He has turned into a force, and he does it across every platform. He can shoot. Now, he's not a great three-point shooter. I'll give you that. He's not. He made a couple last night, a couple step backs, which were really impressive. He starts making that shot consistently. Forget it, man. You're talking about a guy that's going to be, and assuming Portland gets in the mix next year, you're talking about a guy that's going to be in the running for like maybe third team all league next year if he starts making the three a little bit more consistently. But he creates for people. He gets to the line. He's efficient. I mean, no, if you're going to mention LaMelo Ball for this list,
man, I'm telling you, how did they get the number one offense? I'm trying to figure this out. It's like it just happened. They got a rookie. They got a guy at Diabate who can only score if it's a dunk. They got Bridges. They got Miller who's still putting it together, getting together. These are good players. Number one offense?
I think in almost 3 years of doing shows with you, you might have just said the most shocking thing.
Everybody's booing me. I'm right. Everyone's booing me. I'm right.
Come on out of your mouth. Hey, and listen, man, I'm going to put everything and keep it in perspective with LaMelo Ball, man, because I've been giving them all kinds of love this year and him too. And he definitely is like the motor for them a lot of times. But no way. With the shot selection and the lack of efficiency as a shooter and the guys that we just put together,
I know.
And you're going to tell me that you wouldn't even consider Denny Avdia or Jalen Johnson or Maxey, but LaMelo Ball's your guy. Come on.
He's not even my guy. He's not even my guy. I'm just saying, I watch a team that scores every time down court, and he's doing crazy stuff. I'm like, that's the engine.
That. He's your guy now.
You know what? I'll make him my guy. He's my guy now. I'm taking him.
You will get a LaMelo Ball jersey FedEx to you overnight.
I might have to
I'm going to go get one today and send it to you. Yeah.
Charlotte Hornets, hook me up, man. Somebody reach out. We got a couple.
I thought for a second you were going to go Jamal Murray, and I was not going to hate on that.
You would have preferred that one, huh?
Oh, I would have. Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
Well, Jamal's having a great year. It's underrated what a great year he's having shooting the ball. Couple super chats here. We got our guy Psycho Blue. B-Ball Cthulhu is excited for the month of postseason excitement, but as apostate Ivy so eloquently said, oh man, don't put me in trouble here, Psycho Blue, said a few days ago, the finals won't matter on B-Ball Judgment Day, a.k.a. the upcoming anti-tank rule. Yeah, I will say this. The anti-tank rule, Adam Silver, I know he's floated all these ideas or what have you. Mark Stein said over the weekend that the NBA wants this resolved before the draft and free agency so teams can plan. So that shows you that something big is coming. I don't love the ideas that are floated, but something big is coming here in the next couple of weeks that I'm very curious to see what it is. Are you into the story at all?
Dying to see what it is. And by the way, I will say something else too. Like one of the most interesting takes I've heard on just in general addressing a way to make the product better was what Mark Cuban said about shortening the games to 40 minutes.
You like that, huh?
I just think it's intriguing because he did the math on it is, I think, and I didn't calculate it, so I trust him. I think it was like 13 fewer games.
Yeah. That's
what it translates to in terms of toll on the body, in terms of minutes played. So you get, and not only that, like 40 minutes, just logically you get more intensity because of a shorter game. There's less time to be casual in the course of a game. So, I looked at that and I was like, hey, you know what? Of everything I've heard, is that the way you go? But that's not the tanking thing. And I'm really curious to see what they come up with. I don't know what kind of an effect it'll have. I can't comment on it because I don't know what it is yet. Let's see what it is. All I do know is you had this year 10 teams shut it down far earlier than we've ever seen in this league.
Yeah.
To where we've had 10 spots locked up in both conferences for how long? It's been over a month.
It's a long time.
And that's never happened since they went to the play-in. So I'm curious to see what Adam Silver does. It's an important thing. I also think just in general, like figuring out some way to make guys more available, less injuries, whatever we can come up with there is going to be helpful as well because star players have missed a lot of time this year. So it's not just the tanking that affects the product. It's the injuries to the star players has been a massive problem this year. And I got a game tonight that's going to see that again with Steph Curry still not back. So I got Spurs Warriors tonight without Steph Curry again.
It is a bummer, man. These injuries they just bum me out. All right, we got one last one. Struggle Cuddle says, thank you so much for the unbiased coverage of every team. Great analysis and chemistry. I never miss a show. We love the everydayers, don't we, Legs?
We do. We absolutely do, man. And I think that may have summed us up better than most things I've seen this year. That is what we try to provide. We don't have, Adam's got a little bit of dog in the fight. Let's be honest about it. But I don't have any dog in the fight.
My team, I've been hard on them all year. They're making me mad.
That is true. Your dog's in the fight, and you're actually booing your own dog half the time.
So
it's
true.
like, geez. He's like, you are hard. Actually, I've had to talk Adam off the ledge several times this year about his own team. Like, that's where we're at. Most nights, but
6-game win streak. We'll see.
Hang in there with us as we all try to get through the remainder of this regular season. And I do believe this. I think this postseason is going to be one of the greatest this league has ever seen. I do think we're going to have some incredible basketball in the early rounds.
I think so too. Atticus, hit that outro music. We appreciate everybody hanging out with us here today. Legs is in the Bay, so you can check out that Warriors game on ESPN tonight. And there's some good games coming up here in the next couple days, so we will be back on Friday with some games that have huge implications on the playoff race. Only 11 days left in the NBA season. We're going to be covering all of them. Make sure you're subscribed to this channel, and make sure you hit a like on the way out. We'll see you guys next time.
We all silly like the mayor.